Welcome to episode 3 of the Rest Days Community Podcast. If you missed the first 2 episodes, you can catch up with them anytime wherever you listen. This week we have the wonderful Veronica Melkonian, an outdoor and adventure photographer who is passionate about representation in the outdoors. Veronica and I met through cycling, which she has taken up in the last few years, after many years being a dedicated climber. We talk about adventure, identity, pushing ourselves, and of course, rest days. Veronica has a refreshing perspective on many topical issues, and I think you'll enjoy hearing what she has to say. Okay, Veronica, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I haven't given you much away about what we're going to talk about, but why do you think I asked you to be on this podcast?
Oh no, that's why do you think you asked me? We enjoy cycling together
It's a good start, right?
because we can have a conversation on a bike and not be like, I'm gonna cycle away from this person.
There aren't that many people I come across that fall into that category.
Why? I guess I have spoken at various events about various different things that I do in cycling and climbing and ways that I interact with the outdoors. Goodness, I have no idea how to answer this question.
That's okay. I just thought it'd be funny to see what you said. We met through a cycling community, which was very joyous, and it's a very lovely way to meet somebody and cycle alongside them, and no prejudgments and all joyousness. But immediately you had a lot of good energy, and then
a lot of opinions.
you're a lot of opinions, but very interesting ones. And opinions are good for podcasts. And then I found out more about some of the stuff you do. You're a photographer. You will do various media projects, and you tend to use your work to try and improve the access for everybody to the outdoors, but also to improve representation in the outdoors, which is something I am so into. And this entire Rest Days community is into that because everybody should have access to the outdoors as a tool for rest. But you also have some interesting opinions about pushing yourself, about, where the boundary lies between healthy and happy. So I think we're going to get deep into that.
That sounds like a much better answer than anything I said.
No, your answer was good to know where we're at. Okay, take me all the way back to little Veronica. You're a little child, you're growing up. Where did you grow up?
I was born in London, but when I was very small, like 3 or 4, we moved out. My parents separated and we moved out to Hertfordshire area. So I grew up in the Shires, in the Hobbit Shires.
In the Hobbit Shires.
In the Hobbit Shires. It literally, in my head, it is the Hobbit Shires.
Okay.
Not quite New Zealand.
Which parent did you grow up with?
I got my dad, which is, kind of, I think when people separate, I think it's unusual for kids to end up growing up with their dad. But me and my brother, we grew up with my dad, so solo papa vibes, solo immigrant dad papa vibes, which is a whole kettle of fish. But
Tell me more about that kettle of fish.
My dad's, he is born in Lebanon, but of Armenian heritage. So both his parents are Armenian, and they were displaced from where they grew up because of the Armenian genocide of 1915, which is there's a whole history topic there. But essentially, his first language is Armenian, but he grew up in Lebanon, and came to the UK like in the 70s. So we grew up with, I would take like falafel to school, but my school was like a very white middle class school. So everyone's like, what's that? And I remember bringing...
Which is kind of funny now that falafel is a very white middle class food to eat.
Honestly, I remember one of my best mates in school tasting hummus. Before she did, she was like, what is that? That looks disgusting. And I was like, honestly, babes, when you try this is going to change your life. And obviously hummus is now...
And it did.
Exactly. Now hummus is the thing.
But
I think my dad coming from east to west, he wanted like the very best for his kids. and wanted to give us, when he had the finances, he wanted to give us like the best that a life could be. So part of that was we went skiing when we were quite small every year. And our family finances were very up and down. So some years it didn't happen, but when it did, it was like my favorite thing ever to do was to go skiing with my family once a year in the Alps. And it definitely instilled the first taste of mountainous adventure that, I love the mountains. I would choose the mountains over the sea any day.
Yeah, I have to say I'm on that side. So, and was the skiing purely fun? Was there anything else behind it? Where was there an expectation of anything with beyond just go on a holiday and enjoy it, or just purely for fun?
No, actually, I think it was fun. I think there was an element of like wanting to be seen to be doing this white privilege sport as a family that weren't necessarily from that background. So I think whilst we were there, it didn't like we were just having fun, and all I remember was just like mucking about and just throwing myself into soft powder, and that was lovely. But I think it was there was an element of like this is a a rich kid thing to do. So if my kids go skiing, then that we have a part of that culture. So I think there was no pressure to do anything competitive or to be good. It was just fun, which is great. But I think there was like an element of prestige about just being seen to do it.
Yeah, okay. So I have two directions I want to go from there. So do you still have something in your life now that is as fun as jumping into fluffy powder? As frivolous and as absolutely, silly as that?
That is such a good question. And I think if you asked me that question a year and a half ago, I think the answer would have been no.
Mm.
But I actually think discovering off-road gravel cycling became the fluffy powder. And actually,
Yes.
someone once told me, a mountain biker was like, "Oh, skiing's really similar to mountain biking," and I thought they were like, I literally thought they were talking nonsense. I thought, how is that possible? They couldn't be more different. And the first time I was on a shoot and I was on an e-bike in the North York Moors for like an hour, and I was like, this is like skiing.
It's so
Um,
true. I buy into that a lot. I think getting down steep corners, I use like the mentality of skiing, like I was like, it's the same. You just have to like point it down the hill for a second and get it under control.
yeah, literally. So I think, the getting into gravel cycling last year was definitely bringing back to fun. Now that I've done it for more than 12 months, I do find that it's harder to get the fluffy powder feeling of fun all the time. But I'm trying to find, other ways in my life to do the fluffy powder fun.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Because once something's been in our lives for a while, we all seem to get a bit complacent about it. Like it can't seem to bring that same
Mm.
childlike enjoyment. Do we ruin it or do we become complacent? Where do you think that comes from?
Ooh, good question. I think there's two parts to that. I think for me personally, I am a very naturally competitive person, particularly with my own performance.
Mhm.
So I love seeing myself get better at something. So I think for me, I am plagued and fated to always suck the joy out of things because I'm like, I want to see how far I can go or how fast or how much I can improve. But I think there is an element of fun to that I really enjoy. Um, and there will be like moments of flow that just feel like ecstasy, no matter how far into that process I am. In general, why does that happen? I think, I think it's really hard when the first time or the first few times you do something, you're doing it, with no expectations. You're doing it. You are just in it. You're just experiencing it without prejudging it, and you're just really fully present. And maybe, yeah, the more you do something, the more it is less of a novelty. And those experiences are more, you're more expecting of them. You know what's going to come next. There's a reason why people do 100-kilometer ultra runs, and they've had their fix, and now they need to get that fix again. They have to push it further and further. But I think it kind of comes back to some sort of state of zen. Is like, can you enjoy doing the washing up at the end of the day, because you're going to have to do it every single day. If you can find a way to enjoy it, then you're onto something, instead of always needing more.
Yeah, I actually read something you wrote about, kind of similar thing about when you're doing a task, if you kind of put it in your head as suffering, then it will be suffering. But if you are in the moment about it, and you will you can enjoy it, and you can see the smaller parts of it, and if you're not thinking about the end of the task, and if you're just thinking about what you're actually doing.
Yes, that was a real experience that I had in Arizona. It was like, I remember learning that as it was happening. I was in so much physical pain because I was, I don't know, slow or left behind, or I think there was one day where I'd left my bag 8 kilometers back, and I didn't
This story
notice.
that you told about leaving the bag and having to go back for it, really, I felt that. I mean, there is nothing I hate more than having to go back on myself. That situation, oh man.
Yeah, so that was bad, and I think I was so annoyed for having forgotten this item at a P spot. And that return journey after having picked it up was so physically painful, just because I didn't want to be there, and I wanted to be, 15K further down hanging out with my mates. And I think I just stopped, and I had to have a moment to be like, it's not going to be fun if you're just continuing to chase where you originally were. Like, you're in this beautiful landscape, you're doing this ludicrous activity, which is imbued with so much, privilege. Like, you get to do this stretch again. No one else gets to do that.
I know, I find that so interesting, right? So the first time you wrote it, you were maybe still in pain, but you were probably thinking, wow, it's so beautiful. Oh, it's amazing. I've seen another new thing. It's incredible. And then the second time, somehow it's the worst thing ever. I had a very similar thing happen to me this summer, where I was going down a valley. And when I went down it, I was like, this is one of the most beautiful valleys I've ever been in my entire life. I genuinely said at the end of the day, I was like, I think this might be in the top 10 days of my life. This was the greatest thing I've ever experienced. Every single minute was so beautiful. I had the greatest day. And then the next day, due to some unfortunate events, I had to go back and do it again. And I was so upset. I was like, no, I have to go all the way back, 12 hours back. What is this? I don't want to do that. It's like, well, and then like halfway through the day, I was like, what am I, yesterday I said it was one of the best days of my life. And now today, I'm not even, I'm not appreciating it. What am I doing?
Yeah. I hear you. That's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
It's definitely a perspective thing, but I don't know where those perspectives came from. Why? But I think you're hitting onto it, that if we're just always in the moment, we're not thinking about the end, then it doesn't matter so much. It's still just as beautiful the second time round.
Yeah, literally. And yeah, the moment I like stopped, and I was like, stop chasing the pack, literally all the pain from my body just disappeared. And I was like,
amazing.
I'm going to take this at my own pace. And I had 4 or 5 hours of beautiful, peaceful cycling. And it was very meditative once I let go.
It's amazing that as well. So pain is a super, super interesting topic, I think. I'm really interested in it medically. I'm interested in it psychologically. I'm interested in it because it's sold as part of the package for a lot of the things I do. And I think somewhat there has to be some discomfort in staying fit. I don't think you can quite get around that, right? Just if we go to the basis of health, to raise our heart rate and be a little bit out of breath is a bit uncomfortable. I mean, we can sell that discomfort as a positive thing and enjoy it, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And that's where all this pain cave nonsense comes from, because we had to sell it to do it, to get the, but there's a point, right, where pain is just pain and it's too much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's very easy to cross that line. I don't know how we know. It's really easy to not know where the line is.
Mm,
So where,
yes,
for you, I know you enjoy a challenge, and
I do.
you have to be in some discomfort to get that reward. And that is an absolutely reasonable way to enjoy the outdoors, and but where's the line?
It's a good question. Where is the line? Um, I
Have you
think, well,
crossed it?
I was
Maybe
just
that's
thinking
the
that, have I crossed the line? I think there was thinking about in climbing, I don't think it's very different to the type of like discomfort you get in sort of a more endurance-based sport. And it's more like you have to overcome something. I don't ever feel like I'm in like I'm not overcoming some physical discomfort. I think the thing that I'm most overcoming when I'm climbing is some psychological discomfort of pushing myself through some fear barrier. And there is a line there of a good push and a bad push,
yeah.
where you're operating in your growth zone and you're stepping a little bit outside of your comfort and you're learning new things, and you can put into play things that you've been working on, and it's all like good challenges. But if it suddenly takes a turn and you're doing too many things that are new at once, then it can very quickly turn into like, oh, am I putting the groundworks in for like a traumatic memory here? Am I gonna actually not be able to come back from this? So I think climbing is kind of interesting, and that line is really difficult to learn. And I think I've had to learn what are my bodily signals of where I'm at for here. And that, sometimes is like, oh, when I stop being able to think clearly, that probably means I'm going into some state of terror than like a healthy pushing of fear. And yeah, I think like there are physical sensations, like if I'm beginning to shake, then I'm no longer controlling even my body. So in climbing, which is, yeah, a kind of a more of a gymnastic style of movement, I think I've had to, over time, learn my own personal physical symptoms of good challenge and bad challenge. Um,
And can you see how that's quite confusing and intimidating to somebody who's new to the outdoors, right? Because you're on the outside. All these people are saying you should try going to the outdoors and doing something active. It'll be really good for you mentally and physically. It'll be great. And I even, the whole thing behind this community is that's kind of a rest day for most people, actually, from their normal life.
yes.
But what you're all these people are saying, yeah, but it's painful. And you have to know not to put yourself in too much pain, but you should be in some pain. And
Yeah.
then on the outside, you're thinking, I don't want to be in any pain.
Yeah, that's confusing.
It's so confusing. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I think us presenting physical activities with the word pain involved at all really isn't very helpful.
No, that doesn't sound fun.
No, but then also, I don't want to lie, because there's probably going to be some discomfort at least, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I've seen it happen. I've seen lesser experienced climbers pushing themselves way too far, and almost to the point where I want to go over to that person and be like, you don't have to do that. But it's not my yeah, in public spaces where you don't know someone, you can't always go and tell them what to do.
Right.
So
And you also don't know what's pushing them to do that. You don't know any of the backstory. It's a really complicated situation, isn't it?
exactly.
But you also don't want to see somebody get hurt and get put off either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, I mean, when I first, it's that's a hard question. Like, how do you, when you're first starting out, know where that line is? You just don't, do you? And I think even by stepping outside the door, you're going to be entering a new space of challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is no such thing as going too slow in something you're just starting out with.
Yeah.
If it feels too easy, great. You know, like at some point you can start adding new things in one at a time, but maybe don't go full hog and give yourself some serious long-term, physical or emotional damage.
Yeah, well, actually, I hadn't even thought of it. I suppose I was mostly thinking about physical damage when I brought it up, but you're right. When you talked about the climbing, and I think I've seen that in mountain biking, where maybe somebody's quite new to it, they've got a lot of confidence, they don't know what being a little bit overconfident for your skills could end up with a pretty traumatic crash psychologically, and that might ruin
Yeah.
it for you. I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah, well, in climbing, you see it all the time where people are then horrified to climb on a rope because
Mm-hmm.
they have been pushed too far. And fear of falling is one of our most basic instincts, or that is like intrinsic to any human being, that is, very deep in our ancestral DNA. And it's something that you're trying to override. So yeah, it makes sense why it's there. But then people want to go climbing after they've had some traumatic experience, and they, almost are doing themselves, almost like neurological damage. I mean, I'm not someone that knows much about what's going on from a scientific perspective, but I've seen it happen, and I've experienced some
And you
elements of it.
observe the world. That's kind of what you do, right? That's what being a photographer, making magic and stuff from other people's experiences is you see things. So I think there's a lot actually in what you see. You
About it from
probably
that
have more
perspective.
wisdom than you know.
Yeah, but in terms of cycling, I think it's very different because or like any sort of endurance sport, where that line is of
Mm.
challenge. Because sometimes, when I was doing that long distance bikepacking trip in Arizona, I went in too deep on the second day, and I almost had to pull out from the whole trip because of my inexperience. And I
Because you'd never
managed,
gone to the line before. So you're just like, right,
yeah,
everybody else is doing this day. I can do it. Surely I'm just going to find out.
yeah, exactly. And I found out.
Yeah. So that kind of, and that day, I know that you probably feel really proud of yourself for overcoming it now. But overall, would you do it differently? I don't know.
I actually don't think I overcame it.
Okay, that's actually really, really good. Interesting. That's really interesting.
I think I went so deep into the red, that I couldn't I couldn't move basically. And I wasn't like, thankfully I wasn't like so ill that other people needed to look after me, but I basically couldn't like take another step, let alone get back on my bike and cycle downhill for 20 kilometers, which is all I had to do next.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. So I think I hit the bottom, my response to that was cry hysterically for 45 minutes,
Mm.
uncontrollably at the poor woman in the American diner. And she kept bringing me food and was like giving me such sweet, sympathetic eyes. Like she knew she couldn't do anything for me, but she was like, "Oh, here you go, darling." And I think I just accepted that I couldn't go on anymore. And if I did, then I would be out. So I
Mm.
asked for help in that moment, and got a lift to the end of that day.
What stopped you from asking for help sooner? Why did you have to get to breaking point?
I wanted to get to the top.
No, that's okay. Whatever answer you gave would have been valid. It's your experience of
Yeah.
it. I
It
just
was
wanted
like
to
it
know.
was it was literally the end of that longest amount of climbing I've ever done, but also the longest climb of that whole trip
Mm.
was 2 days of going up this mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And the second day was ending at the top of it. And then you had like a 20K descent to the camping for that night. But it was like, I don't know. Yeah, it was like felt like a serious achievement to get to the top of this mountain where you were cycling up through like 7 different, I think they called them biospheres.
There you go. Okay, so imagine you're there again,
Yeah.
except that you're on your second time round. You've got your nutrition, your hydration right. You're so fit. You're just feeling fantastic. You're flying up the hill,
Sorted.
and you meet this person, also called Veronica. Such a coincidence. And she is struggling her way up, and she looks not good. She's pale. She's a bit, like, is she actually fully with it? And she's like, I don't know if I can do this, but I really want to get to the top. But I also feel absolutely horrendous. What would you say to her now?
I think there were moments in that position where I saw some trucks pass and I contemplated asking them for a lift, but I didn't know that was okay. And so I think I would have just affirmed to that person, to this other Veronica, I would have said, if you need to get a lift to the top to make it, that's okay. No one will judge you for it.
Yeah, because nobody would judge you, right? Nobody would even care. In fact, some people would give you a pat on the back and be like, "Well done. You didn't cause anybody else a bad experience because they had to pick you up off the side of the road. Well done because you haven't caused yourself any damage."
Exactly. And I found out later that some people did, and I was like, "What?" So I think I would just tell her that that's an option, and then it's up to her what she does with that information. Because I think just knowing someone else telling you that's okay would have maybe been enough.
Why did you think it wasn't okay?
Maybe there was a part of me that felt like this was like a very cool group of badass women that was at this level that I had in my mind that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah. You were a part of them either way, though, weren't you?
Well, she knows that now.
Oh man, yeah. But what gave you that impression?
I don't know. I hadn't like done anything like it before. I felt like I didn't even really feel like I knew anything about bikes. I had owned my bike for 3 months.
Yeah.
I'd never done anything like it. I didn't know what the level. I didn't know what is like normal for those sorts of events.
Yeah.
And I think that it plays a part of the answer to it. Like there was also me just wanting to get to the top.
Yeah. Because you've said you like to turn things to a challenge and you like to see where your limit is, right?
I do.
Okay, so there's partly that, and that's totally fair enough. And I'm really, really interested in that, and I have no judgments because in Built Rona is exactly the same.
In Built Rona.
But I'm also interested in the part where you thought like maybe that was part of this group and this culture. So just to give a little bit of context here, Veronica was on a rally with a bunch of women, and this rally is advertised as sociable, really friendly. It's supposed to kind of take people from, maybe they can do a little bit of bikepacking, maybe they've started riding, they're getting into it, and then this is maybe their first massive adventure. And it's supposed to be advertised, I guess, as not conventional cycling culture a little bit. But there are people there who are really, really good cyclists. So that complicates it, right?
Yeah.
But something had told you that in these type of groups, people do push themselves, and maybe it's a thing that you're not supposed to stop, even if you're in trouble.
Yeah, yes, I think there is. I mean, it's so hard to say because I think at that point I didn't even realize I was in trouble when I was struggling so much. Because I'd never been there.
Yeah, fair.
And also because I am so new to cycling, I didn't even know what conventional cycling etiquette.
But they'll be in subliminal messages.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. I know what mammals are.
You've been on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, that's true. Yeah, and it did feel like kind of counterculture. But yeah, I think there is. Yeah, I wanted. Yeah, it's a good. I'm gonna say it again, Rona. It's a good question.
We try.
Okay, so phrase the question back at me again. Can you say again?
Yeah. So I'm just interested in what brought you to this point? You know, was there imagery, was there messages that, you know, you think you might have experienced that made you feel like you couldn't stop? External things, not internal. This is all the external things that you had seen about cycling, or what it is to be an athlete or a sports person, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen anyone stop, you know, first
Mm.
off. Like everyone I'd seen had carried on. So, but I think the problem is you are like 60, 70 people spread out over tens of kilometers, 100, yeah, at least spread over, you know, 40, 50K. The amount of people that you're actually seeing at any one time, apart from the night stops, is like 5, 6, 7 people at any time. So I didn't see anyone stop. I was kind of a noob. The event, you know, they have a media van, but that van is not a support van, and it's a self-supported. It's very much outlined as a self-supported race, or not race, rally. So if you need something, you either have to have it yourself or find a way to sort it out. The truth I found out is there is support there for you, but they just can't kind of say that they're going to hold everyone's hands.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it makes it a different kind of event.
totally.
So I think, yeah, I think it would be totally different if I had just spoken to someone to be like, hey, do people, you know, do people skip parts if they
Mm.
can't do it? But
And why didn't you speak to anybody? Were you embarrassed?
I mean, everyone was struggling on that particular day. And there was, yeah, people were like, there were, because it is over a bigger distance and over such a big climb, that there were large parts of the day where I was cycling alone. And I was kind of like, well, I think at one point I was like, if I really remember now, I think there was a point near the top where I think I realized maybe I was near being done. And I said to myself, okay, those last 5 trucks, I wish I got on and I didn't. The next one, if there is another one that comes, I might ask for help. And a truck never came. You missed your chance, babes. It's you made your bed, you gotta
Mm.
sleep in it. And I was like, well, my cards have been dealt. We're just gonna get to the top. I think as we went further up the hill, I did start asking strangers for water.
Mm.
So
Good. Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, there's no judgments here on how this played out. Like, I really respect the decisions you made, and I think lesson we all are learning in life. So um, it's all got to be done a little bit, I think. And I think as well, given the headspace you were in on that day and on that climb, had you got into a truck, I think maybe there's a chance, depending on how much positive reaction you'd got from stopping, you might have regretted it. And not that you should have, just to be clear. Either option was valid if it was the
yeah.
right thing for you. But I think because of the headspace you say you were in that moment, I think if you had then got to a campsite and bumped into other people and they hadn't given you a really positive reaction for stopping, which I would hope they
Yeah.
would,
Yeah.
but I think there's a chance you could have gone, oh, I wish I had.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, actually, because the time at which I decided to get the lift was from the top down. And that is, everyone says it was the best descent they've ever done in their lives, in the most beautiful setting, which I did get to see from the drive. And I don't regret getting that lift down because I was chuffed to, I was like, I made it to the top. That's what
You made
matters.
your goal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So then this brings us to the internal part of this problem. So uh we'll go back all the way back to little Veronica. And the influences that you were talking about. You went skiing. You think some of that might have been because your family wanted to show that you were a part of this culture and stuff like that. Did that have other impacts? Did you have to prove that in other ways?
I can see where this is going.
We can turn the corner. We don't have to go down this road.
I just jumped ahead in my head and I was like, oh, we're going to psychoanalyze why Veronica is the competitive person that she is.
That's literally what this podcast is, right?
No, it's I see the trajectory now. I was like, oh, I understand the task. Yeah, I think definitely growing up as like a second generation immigrant, there was like a lot of family pressure, not necessarily to live certain paths. I didn't have family that like wanted me to go down a specific career path. I wasn't forced into, you hear stories of people being like, okay, you can be a doctor or a lawyer, which is it going to be? But there was kind of, like even when we didn't necessarily have much money, we still had a nice car because we wanted to make sure that we weren't seen to not have money. So I think some element of being seen to be successful, whatever it was, and I was, encouraged to do whatever it was that I want, which I enjoyed, which is great, although I ended up pursuing things I didn't enjoy just to be successful. So that planned out well, but we came back from but I think that definitely impacted a lot of my sort of psychology growing up, was to make sure if I was going to do something, I was going to do it. If I was going to do something, I was going to do it well. So
I honestly think that there's a lot of nature to that, not just nurture. Sorry, parents, don't worry, you didn't do all of this.
See you later.
But yeah, and so some of this is just inbuilt, but I think somewhat the environment that we have grown up, and that doesn't just have to be at home. What kind of school did you go to?
I went to a selective state school, so I had to not like I had to prove myself to get in. And it was,
so I guess there's going to be a bit of an atmosphere of, you have to do your best and all this rest of it.
Yeah, definitely. And like my family are all musicians and I wanted to pursue creative things at school, but they were like, you're smart, don't waste your time doing that stuff.
Interesting.
Whereas if I wasn't book smart, I mean, like getting good grades, they might have been like, okay, you can also pursue the arts. But I think because I could get good grades, they were like, you better do something academic.
Yeah, there's something very interesting in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
That you have to, if you have a talent for something, you have to use it.
Yes.
I think that, there's so many bits that stems from, like societally, I think really it's a very capitalist thing because, we don't need, musicians who are not earning lots of money, who barely, we need, the big bucks earners. So if you're smart, do it for society, pay your taxes, it'll all be good.
100%. Yeah. And I think it took me, way after I left uni to realize that those things weren't making me happy, and I had to have a rain check and figure out what did.
Yeah, I think that also ends up coming into all of our outdoor pursuits and stuff. So if you are doing sport or exercise or any outdoor recreation as non-professionally, why does it matter that you use your talents, right? Why can't you just do the activity that's most fun? Doesn't make sense to me, that. But yet there is a push there too. Oh, do the thing that you're good at. I had another guest said that they don't really enjoy doing activities if they're not good at them.
I've had a lot of people just in life say that.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow, isn't that so interesting? I don't think that that's a human thing. I don't think kids are like that.
Yeah.
Kids just love, they that's why they get good at really skills. You see these kids on balance bikes just falling over 100 times over. They get back up and they're just having the best time. But adults would fall over once and go, well, I guess I'll try something else.
Yeah. There's been like that new sort of minor trend within the Instagram creative world where people are like, hey, you don't have to be good at your hobby to enjoy it. which is like an interesting question when you ask yourself, like, okay, is there, and like, what is the thing that you would still do if you were bad at it, or you didn't tell anyone about it?
Yeah, well, I can tell you mine is climbing. I'm a terrible climber. I go every week. Am I making progress? No. Do I make bail on the last move almost every time? Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
But I'm there and I'm
Yeah.
having fun.
Yeah. Well, that's like my own relationship to climbing has dramatically changed in the last 2 years since I've stopped pursuing it to just be like a specific level at it. And now I'm just doing it for the enjoyment. And surprise, surprise, I'm sometimes climbing better than ever. So,
And you see that actually even amongst professional athletes, to be honest, because most professional athletes did originally enjoy the sport that they're doing.
They did once.
Once upon a time, yeah. But then sometimes they burn out, they lose that, and then and this rest days concept, I think, applies across the board to everybody, because sometimes if you are doing your pursuit, your hobbies to such a high level, you lose the fun in it, and you need a rest day. You need to take a step back and just remember why the hell you're doing this.
Yeah.
Because there's no need for it to become miserable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like why bother doing it? Like it's not gonna give you enjoyment.
Yeah, but then it comes back to that. Well, if you're like one of the best in the world, you really owe it to everybody to keep doing it,
Yeah. What? It's not about you anymore.
No, definitely not, right? I think that happens in a lot of people's careers too, though.
Yeah. Then it becomes this kid thing that also is like, adventure is inherently, it kind of is a selfish thing as well, though. Like, I don't know, where's the good in like, I'm gonna, focus on myself and
Oh, I
go
don't agree with that
hiking.
at all. I think that you look after yourself first, you'll be so much better for the world, right?
Yeah.
I can't take on people's problems all day, every day if I go to work feeling drained and rubbish. I just burn out and I'll quit.
Yeah.
And then the NHS loses another doctor. Well, that was a stupid idea, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that it doesn't have, looking after yourself, putting a bit of, plus also if we want to really get down to like boring things like
Let's go
tax
there.
money and stuff, then looking after yourself physically also benefits everybody in the country, because the NHS doesn't have to pay for us in the future. And just to be clear, many health problems are not people's fault. I am not saying that, but there are some that we can impact. But and so there is that. That's not selfish at all.
Okay, yes. That is, no, but I mean, it's like taking care of yourself is, I think, different to, being like, I'm going to do a triathlon or be an ultra athlete.
But what if you need that what if that's the level you need to take care of yourself?
I mean, yes. I mean, I'm speaking as someone that likes to push myself, but sometimes I'm like, oh, why am I, like spending so much time training for this thing that is just like climbing this silly little rock face down in the river valley, when I don't know, maybe I could be spending,
I get that.
Like my health is
it.
here, but
Yeah, I get it. But also, I suppose, and I think this often, because why are we wasting time doing stuff like that? We could be doing more good for the world. I kind of agree, but I also think you have to make peace with it somewhat. You can't spend all of your time going out and helping people. I suppose you have a more, your dad experienced something that would put everything in perspective, right? He left a genocide. So in a genocide, nobody's like, oh, I think I'm just going to go bouldering. That sounds nice.
yeah,
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
yeah.
That's just who, so yeah, it's complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we never do anything fun, or should we do a little bit? Are we selfish if we do too much? I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny though, because my dad's like, oh, you can't do all these, like, he's always concerned about my safety and what I'm doing. And even when I moved cities to be further away from him, and I'm like, Dad, you like literally left your home country. I know it was like war torn, but you haven't gone back and maybe you have a bit of an adventurous spirit in yourself. I know you liked a bit of skiing, so don't tell me that maybe the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it? Also, though, I think you can do a lot of, oh, there's a lot of the world is suffering and a lot of the world is suffering, but a lot of people in horrible situations find amazing amounts of joy. And I think we're in a really weird society and world. And so sometimes this is us finding our joy.
Yeah.
And you can't compare two worlds to each other. It doesn't work.
Have you seen the film Resistance Climbing?
Maybe. I'm very bad with film names. Tell me what happens.
It went around the sort of outdoor adventure film circuit, and it's a film about an American outdoor writer who does a lot of writing for like all the big American outdoor magazines. And he's got Palestinian heritage, but he's not very connected to it. And he's a climber. And he goes to Palestine. This is several years ago, to hang out with climbers in Palestine. And it kind of isn't about the Israeli-Palestinian relationship, but obviously that is the backdrop for it. But this American writer has a very cynical view on climbing. He's sort of fallen out of love with it. And he goes to see this relationship between Palestinians and climbing. And it's so beautiful. And I remember so vividly, there's this scene right at the end where he's like, what if I told you climbing doesn't mean anything? And you can just see these people's faces light up, and they're like, you don't climb if you think that. And they just had so much spirit and joy and life because of the climbing. And it's really beautiful to see.
I have seen that film. It is amazing. And I think that's exactly kind of what I'm very badly trying to say.
Yeah.
There is a lot. Yeah. I don't think you should start making something that you do that brings you joy and makes you productive and makes you feel fulfilled. We already have enough things that we make ourselves feel bad about. Don't start feeling bad about this.
For sure. And like, I would rather spend my time in nature than like, I don't know, figuring out how I can contribute to the capitalist machine turning its cogs.
Exactly. Plus, also, you are somebody who, when you're doing your projects and when you're out, you are trying to improve access for other people, and you are interested in community. You take people along with you. You're not just going on your own and saying, "Oh well, I'm not interested in improving it for anybody else."
Well, that's good to hear. Sometimes it doesn't always feel like that.
I know. Well, that's it's easy to not think that. Okay, I have some more specific questions for you. You have done lots of work with elite athletes or athletes in general.
Mm-hmm.
Has that warped your perception of what the outdoors is or what sport is?
I don't think so. I think I've been very lucky that the athletes I've worked with have all been extremely humble and people that really enjoy their sport. I actually did a shoot with the mountain biker Evie Richards, who is like a world champion for lots of different. You can probably fill in the blanks for what I'm about to say. Yeah, she's pro cyclist and she's badass. But I did a shoot with her before I kind of knew how big of a deal she was, which I don't think it necessarily would have changed much. And only in retrospect do I realize that, like, wow, she is such a humble person that just wants to like spread joy about what she does. But no, I don't think it. I think if any of the changes it's made me think about sport is it's just like how amazing these ambassadors are at bringing, the love for their sport through. Particularly anyone who might not be the classic athlete that we have in mind. Particularly if they come from like non-white backgrounds. they are, classic, if you can't see it, you can't believe it. So yeah, I think if anything, it's had a positive impact to my relationship with sport.
That's really good. You said two things that I mean, one, I'm a big Evie Richards fan. Yeah. So if Evie ever ended up listening to this podcast, she wants to come on, just hit me up. And the second thing is, yeah, if you can't see it, you can't be it, right? That's just behind everything that I do. I love that saying. I think it says it all. And that kind of brings me on to the thing is, if we only see elite athletes or people doing crazy stuff in the outdoors, do we know that we can do anything else?
Wow.
Okay, and then I'll make it a bit different, the question. So, obviously, so as a photographer, you work with a brand and they want you to present an image of their brand, which most of the time is people doing stuff really, really well. But that is changing a little bit. I will give many, many brands credit for that.
Yeah.
But it is often a certain type of athlete, right?
Yeah.
Or at least a certain type of person. They're often look very athletic. They
Yeah.
look like they should be doing that sport.
Yeah.
And they're normally doing it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any opportunities to represent a different side of the outdoors?
Yeah, well, I think where we see that representation kind of impacts the types of people we see. So obviously, elite sport, those people are going to look like elite athletes because of the nature of the format of the event. But we also, where we see people doing sport is also in advertising, as you mentioned. And we are beginning to see some of those models that are used. Initially it was like, okay, are they just not going to be a sea of white faces? And now we're kind of in the outdoor industry pretty good at making sure that's the case. Do they look like they have a variety of body types? Do they have different skill levels? Do they have different body abilities, or are they an intersection of the queer society or different way people present themselves? I think that side of things we are still much slower at doing, and it also comes with this intrinsic issues. I think there was a campaign that a brand put out with using an athlete who was an amputee and had a partially missing foot, and there was the community from the disabled community asked, "Oh wow, does that mean we can now buy that shoe as a single shoe?"
I remember this, yeah.
But you couldn't. So they used the representation, great, amazing, but could they follow that up? No, they couldn't.
Took full advantage of it, but then, yeah.
Exactly. So there is that like good intention, but not being able to follow through with the meaning behind it.
Definitely that still exists in different body shapes and sizes for sure as well.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes you will see a brand feature people of different sizes and shapes, but if they do a good enough variety of sizes, they probably the one, maybe the extreme ends sell out so quickly because they're still not putting much effort into those ends, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the representation is a small part of that process, but it needs to have the meaning behind it. I think the other way that we consume different forms of media in the outdoor industry is through kind of just the narrative films that get made and get put through the adventure film circuit. And this year I'm really lucky to be on the Kendall Mountain Festival jury.
Are you? That's fun.
Yes, it is very exciting. So I get to watch all of the amazing films and to help decide which ones get to be prize winners. But having worked at Kendall in the past few years and been involved in other circuits, there definitely is more of a spread of different types of people that experience the outdoors. being represented in that media. And that's pretty cool because there really is like an authorship there of the people who are in those stories also telling the stories. It's not like a brand uses person from this background to sell their stuff.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely still seeing that sometimes. Obviously,
Yes.
it's going to take a while for that to change. But it seems from the outside like there's improvement. So I'm glad that you feel like on the inside there is.
Yeah, I think the brand commercial work still is like terrible for the people making it, who and what that looks like. But they are at least trying to do the right thing. But I think at the moment it's still a bit superficial in terms of they're just trying to make it look good so they can sell to those communities, rather than like offering them the support.
Yes, yeah. I think that even still exists for women, really, because, there's like now I'd say the representation, there's mostly a woman involved in most advertising for outdoors things, but I still don't feel like the um equipment, the clothing, everything that's available to us is fully up to the same level.
Yeah, I mean, Rona, do you know when I will be able to find a sports bra that fits me well?
Isn't that just a never ending problem?
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I think that one's it's gonna. There is a specific size of chest that if you have it, there are sports bras out there that fit, and if you are not that, just give
Bye
up.
bye. Yeah, get out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay. That I appreciate that insight. I think that you're given, and yeah. Do you think the outdoors is like a cure for your need to push yourself, or like a solution? Is it and if you don't have that, what happens to you?
I do not think it is a cure, but I don't know if that's like a personal me thing. Although me and my partner are experiencing the same asking ourselves the same questions. I think there is partly, it feels like partly the outdoors is like a band-aid solution, like a treatment, not the cure. And it's a great treatment that I think is wonderful, and it's works really well as a healthy coping mechanism. And there could be far more, there could be far worse coping mechanisms that I could choose to
100%.
to use. But I think there is like some personal intrinsic like work that I need to do on like fulfillment and finding projects that feel really meaningful and important to me, that I am like working out long term, to help ease the internal despair that regularly visits me.
I actually really love that answer. I think that is very honest. Thank you. And I think that a lot of people will resonate with that. I say that really often, that I think it can be a band-aid for this kind of inner restlessness. I don't know where that comes from. Everybody has a different answer, I suppose. And I think that there is now there's forming a very beautiful community, and hopefully Rest Days will be a part of that, of people that are saying you don't need to keep pushing, you don't need to be anything more than you. We can all exist and enjoy outdoor activities without them being taken to the extreme and there being anything unhealthy about it. But you still have to grapple with it yourself. Somebody doesn't just say to you, you're enough, and then you go, oh, well then, I'll just leave it there and I'll just now enjoy a walk every Sunday and not ever take anything too far.
Oh, I would sign up for that pill.
I know, hey. But then it does. There's arguments back and forwards, because it allows, when you feel like that, you do achieve things and you get to do experiences that you wouldn't if you didn't push yourself. So there's lots in life to experience, and this is one of those things.
Yeah, exactly. And when I think about all the wonderful experiences that I get in terms of people I meet and places I get to go, like at its base, I want my body to function for me for a really long time, and it's gonna do that if I treat it well. So I think, yeah, whatever other things that I have going on, I think it's our body is kind of like our instrument in a way. So
I love that. And I think we have a really big disconnect with our bodies, which allows us to be really mean to them. And it also sometimes allows us to neglect them and forget that this is the only body you get. This is the single one that you have for this whole life. Use it
yeah,
as a tool. Don't be mean to it.
yeah, keep it up,
Yeah,
buddy.
I think it's really interesting. I'm not sure. I have a little bit of a theory that to fully kind of become totally mindful, not need to be pushing, not need to settle that inner restlessness. You have to take everything away. Maybe you have to lose it all, or you have to purposely step away fully and, find enjoyment in all those tiny little things.
Wait, you do think you need to strip that away, or you don't?
I think you do,
You do,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, I
But like
think
to like a monk-like state? Are we talking?
I don't know. I'm not saying I don't know. Sometimes I mean, I've never been on a 10-day meditation where you don't talk to people. But some people say that's the level, But
Yeah.
I do know that in times where I took things too far and messed myself up, it was really horrible and it felt like things were ripped away. But then when I came back super slowly and just found joy in all the small things, it was really nice, and that's how I find a happier balance.
Yeah. I think I 100% agree, and I feel like I'm in a space of stripping stuff away in my own life. But it can be like scary and overwhelming and kind of lonely as well when you start taking away all these things that you held on to previously. Uh, so maybe this conversation is coming at the perfect time for me.
It seems like it is, actually. I didn't know we were going to be at such a good timing. It's really interesting, actually. But I think it's complicated because a lot of that is tied in with your identity. A lot of who you are in an
Mm.
outdoorsy world is I'm a climber.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a cyclist.
Oh
So
my
but
goodness, yes.
that's not actually who you are. You're a charismatic, like really bubbly extrovert who gets loads from people and gives loads to people.
Mm.
You're creative. All of those things have nothing to do with specific identities. They can be mixed into anything.
That's so funny. I like people love to like latch on to that category. Like, so I've stopped posting about climbing recently because it's just the thing that's part of my life. And I have been posting on Instagram more about cycling, and people are literally asking me if I no longer climb and if I am now a cyclist. They're like, "So you're a cyclist now?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I still like train for climbing 3 times a week. I still take it pretty seriously. I'm just not talking about it because it's now just a thing that's for me."
Yeah, it's just a
Um,
thing you do.
yeah, but people get confused by that. And they're like, "So which is it,
Mm.
climbing or cycling?" And I'm like, "Actually, I'm I'm learning piano." So,
We like to put people in boxes. It makes everything easy for us. We know where they stand.
yeah.
And that's where all these big stereotypes come from and where cultures within a sport come from. Just makes everything easier for everybody.
I want to deconstruct the box.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. We don't need those boxes.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of social media, have you felt pressure from that then? Have you felt like you originally, do you think that you were specifically trying to fit the mold because that's what the algorithm wants?
When you say originally, when are we talking?
Well, I mean, you're saying now that you're trying to break down the walls of the box, right?
Ah,
So
yes.
before
Yes.
now.
Before now, before this moment. Yeah, 100%. I think when I was starting out as a photographer, I started out as a climbing photographer, and now I kind of do more various bits, and I, do a lot of freelance writing and presenting, so it's not all just photography. Um, but at the time I was like, I'm going to market myself as a climbing photographer because that way people will understand what I want to do and will approach me for that sort of work. And it worked really well. And I hate the amount of work that I got simply through Instagram. So it's like a real double-edged sword. And I feel very like sometimes confused about not being a very simple marketable thing where people easily understand what it is you're about, especially if there is like a transactional business element to it.
That's super interesting because it's so much more complicated for you when your work is intertwined with it all.
Yeah, it is. And like, even when I started climbing photography, I was like, and you have to build your portfolio before you start getting paid work or alongside it. And you're like, is this a climbing day for me? Or is this a photography day for me photographing someone else? I had to start making the distinction because you can't do both well.
No, that makes total sense. It's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I think also there's it's very freeing not to be tied with your actual income to work that you're passionate about or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think there's something really special about if you can carve a path where you can do both.
There aren't many people who manage that though.
No, but the people that I look up to in the industry, they have so many strings to their bow. And I'm like, how do you manage to link all of them? And they are outspoken and they are respected and they are paid well for what they do.
Have you got any shout outs, people we can aspire to be like?
Yes, I was actually specifically thinking of Phil Young, who's one of the founders of, have you heard of the Auto Project?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Tell me about it.
Auto. They're an organization called Opening Up the Outdoors, and they partner with loads of big brands and help mentor sort of leaders in the outdoor industry who are trying to open up the outdoors. But Phil's like creative agency world, has done stuff in like ski presenting and has done everything you've ever heard of. And Phil is just, if I could be like anyone, I want to be like Phil when I grow up. He's formidable.
Amazing. I love that. I mean, I don't know who they are, but I will now be checking them out because they sound fantastic and very much somebody to aspire to be in the outdoor world.
Yeah. So I think there is hope for us yet to be outspoken, opinionated, very well paid, because they should not be mutually exclusive.
Well, Veronica, that turned out to give even more than I hoped it would give.
Oh, really? I had no idea what you're hoping for.
But I hope that you didn't feel attacked.
No, not at all. You're the gentlest attacker I've ever had.
Oh, good. I'll put that on my Instagram bio. I think that's a pretty good summary of who I am, maybe.
Honey bear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I think that a lot of people are going to be really interested in what you had to say. And honestly, I feel like we could keep talking forever.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely having a chat, letting me ramble on about all sorts of nonsense. But yeah, it was lovely. Very tricky questions, very good ones. I like them. I'll be thinking about them all day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Veronica's positive, energetic words as much as I did. She really challenged me to think as we talked. I especially enjoyed the focus on mindful activities instead of chasing for more. If you want to join in with the Rest Days community, follow us on Instagram and check out our website. I'll see you next week.